You're listening to Hypnotic Turtle Radio Circus, Hypnotic Turtle Radio on Radio 1190, KVCU 1190 AM Boulder, K225BS 92.9 FM Denver, and online at 1190.radio.
Hi, this is Cipriano Ortega, and you're listening to Hypnotic Turtle Radio Circus.
My name in lights tonight. Don't they ever shine so bright? Tonight. In your beds tonight. I'm out here howling at the moon tonight.
People, you're listening to Hypnotic Turtle Radio Circus, Hypnotic Turtle Radio on Radio 1190, people. And we are joined by Cipriano Ortega, people from the band Cipriano, people. And they just released their brand new album, Lolo House, people. And it was recorded last summer at the Recreate Creative Residencies up in Breckenridge. Yeah, let's hear all about it. Cipriano, how you doing?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing really good. We appreciate your time. Really excited about the new album, Lolo House. It'll be available digitally everywhere, and then you'll have CDs for sale at your Bandcamp, any other local outlets.
Yeah, I think I'll take them to a couple of different record stores, Wax Trax and Twist and Shout, Black and Red Records as well too, and a few others on my little list of wonderful local record shops around town.
Yeah, we are lucky to have a number of them now. Very cool, very cool. But like we said, this album was recorded during a residency up in Breckenridge. Do you want to kind of take us through residency and the new album?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was through Recreate at their historic Robert White House in Breckenridge, and I recorded it last summer. And it was a 3-month process in terms of laying down the basic tracks and going into, a space that's not necessarily made for a traditional recording studio, making it the best that it can be and using the sonic principles of it. And I think me and my drummer and co-producer Brett Betterman really did a good job capturing the vibe, I think, of that summer as well, and just really exploring through the limitations of both the low rock formula as well as just the limitations of being in a space that isn't a traditional recording space to make something that's quite special. People that have heard it so far have really said that it definitely has a vibe we really went into it with a couple different influences in mind, namely the first one being Morphine from the 90s, that band from Boston, and obviously Mark Sandman from that band, and also the White Stripes, namely their first debut album as well too, really wanting this lo-fi kind of analog sound that really captures an essence that the both of us really wanted in terms of like a warm, intimate tone, and obviously bringing in the limitations of, two-string slide bass and drums being the main focus of the inspirations and our color palette, and then sprinkling in obviously Brett Billions on harmonica and Doug Carmichael on tenor and alto and baritone saxophone and lap steel and some dobro as well too. So really trying to utilize all those traditional blues instruments to make something that's akin to historical blues, but also kind of our own unique spin on it as well.
I better curb my appetite. No one here to feed me tonight. I could bake a cake, but there's no one here to lick my spoon. I guess I could feed myself, not the same. No one here to light my flame. I could bake a cake, but there's no one here to lick my skin. Some people have a nice buffet. They pick and choose all damn day. I could bake a cake, but there's no one here to lick my skin. I guess I'll have what's on hand. No one here to heat my pan. I could bake a cake, but there's no one here to lick my spoon. Lick my spoon. Lick my spoon. Lick my spoon. Give me that ever-loving spoonful.
Why the name Lolo House?
It's funny you mentioned that. So last summer, I really delved into obviously the blues and all those traditional black blues musicians in the day and listening to their albums. And one of the main influences, even since college, was Funhouse. And so I was just thinking of that kind of concept of just coming up with kind of a name that's akin to that, not necessarily even trying to follow through with it. And then I was thinking about, feeling low and low rock. And then I was contemplating this idea of, living in this house, recording this album and connecting low house. And then I figured Lolo House just kind of came out naturally. And then I was talking to my partner and she was telling me about, well, Lolo means crazy. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So like Crazy House is kind of an element into it as well too. And just the low aesthetic and, low rock itself is a very, very subgenre and lifestyle at this point for me is really just trying to embrace what you have and make the best of it, and make something creative out of your limitations. And I think I really appreciate that within my artistic aspects of all the things that I do artistically.
Drives me crazy with a silver spoon, or say maybe just outside of my low
So I'm a huge Morphine fan myself, Mark Sandman. But what drew you to that music and made you pick up on that sound?
Yeah, a couple of years back, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, I just really was obsessed about this idea of just what are the bare bones in terms of the elements of songwriting do I really enjoy, and namely was bass, and rhythmic guitar. And then I played around with this idea of like a one-string bass, and then I looked that up, I think on Google, good old Google, and I came up with those results from Morphine and Mark Sandman. And then even before that, I was watching The Ciprianos, the HBO show, and this song came on throughout the show. I think it's season 1, episode 8, something like that. And Morphine was on there. And then once I heard that, everything changed, honestly. It was literally hearing a sound that I knew I had to pursue. And then I found out, it was a 2-string bass, and then also it involves slide. And I've always been a fan of slide guitar and slide in general, mainly the Doors as well being a big influence as well, too. And Robbie Krieger's guitar playing in that aspect. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there. I really like the approach of it. It's very simple and rudimentary, but there's a lot of nuance to it. And every time I play it, I'm always learning something new, quite honestly.
I really enjoyed the new album as well, Lola House People, like we said. Be available everywhere digitally and here locally. Obviously, whenever you see Cipriano out and about playing, Do you have any plans for the release? Do you doing any shows?
Yeah, we're definitely planning on doing an album release party to get it in everybody's ears and represented in a live format as well too. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, just playing around town. A couple city gigs hopefully coming up that I applied for the summer, and yeah, much more to come in terms of that for sure. And just finding more local open mics and things like that, and even stripping down the album and the songs even into a duo kind of thing as well too is something I've been exploring as well too. And always just my big question in terms of composition and exploring music is just what can you take away that really still matters in terms of the fundamental bare bones of a song, and what kind of keeps me going in terms of creative pursuits, especially in songwriting.
A couple of my favorites on the album are "Promise" and the closer, "Brighter Than the Moon." You want to talk about those, and any other songs on the album that stick out to you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, "Promise" was the first song actually that I ever wrote on a 2-string slide bass, and it came out probably summer of 2020. And yeah, it's about my grandfather. I'd lost my grandfather. He passed away, and lyricism, I think, just came out in that regard in terms of mourning and just really my indigenous identity and just the idea of pursuing life beyond, I guess, the afterlife as well, too. It's very nuanced in terms of the spiritualism, in terms of how it was written in that way. So very personal. It's even hard to talk about in a way. It's funny. No, it's very good. I'm just really glad that I finally was able to capture it, because it's been a song that's been in my catalog for many years, and to finally find the time to really just lay it down on a track. And I'm really happy with what everybody did, and namely Cortland Carpenter on the cello. She did a phenomenal job. She came into the studio to lay down some overdubbed cello, and ever since I wrote it, I always knew that cello was kind of the glue to hold it all together. And once I heard it back, I was like, yeah, it really is a foundational element that I always knew was a part of it. And it was great to hear it finally take form and into a reality that is the track now.
Promise me good things, like a day without pain, a time with no money. You're on the promise train. If my word is gold, then my time is sold off. I don't feel the cold. It hits hard like a buckle. If you can't keep your promise, then at least do this. Keep the blankets warm and steal a kiss. If my word is gold, then my time is sold off. I don't feel the cold. It hits hard like a buckle.
then Brighter Than the Moon, I'd really been listening to a lot of Townes Van Zandt, and I'm a big fan of his writing method and just his lyricism, his musical genius, and just his vulnerability that he offers within his poetic lyricism. And just wanted to explore something because I had been wanting to buy a dobro, or also known as a resonator guitar. And it was it was the first song I wrote on it. I turned it to an open G and took off the top low E string and did kind of the Keith Richards thing in open G tuning. That's one of the first songs that came out. And my friend Hassan Lopez came up one weekend and we figured it out and we just laid it down and it kind of came out that way. And I really am glad that I kind of didn't overthink it in that way and it really came together. And I remember one time I was listening to it, one of the mixes at night up in Breckenridge, and it was raining outside. And then I took out my headphones and I put it back in and I could hear this lo-fi rain sound. I'm like, oh, I think that's the final third element of it in terms of the instrumentation. I think it really glues it together. And of course, it's an homage to like Riders on the Storm, even though I could never really ever, compare myself to that kind of song. It's just definitely an homage.
Cold sets in, it's night again, and I need you. You are my constant star, you are my light. Together we are brighter than the moon. In my mind's eye, I look to you, a constant truth, to hold me to the light. Together we are brighter than the moon. The cold sets in, it's night again, and I need you. You are my constant star, you bring me the light.
A lot of songs on this album really are kind of an homage or responses to other songs that I'm just a huge fan of in terms of the song itself, but also the composers. Like the song Genie on the album as well too is kind of my tip of my hat to like Jack White's White Stripes Astro on their first album. I remember just hearing that fundamental riff and just how it drives that song forward. And then I also listened to Albert King's Born Under a Bad Sign earlier that summer before I went there, and had written a couple tunes based in regard to response to that as well too. And there's fundamental stuff. So like Something About You was definitely one of them. Just One More Drink, Summertime Blues, and just really leaning into that admiration of just combining blues and funk and just using the tight horn section really just makes things pop. And so those kind of songs, those songs on the album really are very near and dear to me. And I think also Get Low is one that I explore as well too. Yeah, out of all the tracks that I've done on the album, Get Low definitely was one that's like the bare bones. It's literally just bass and drums and vocals. And again, that's another tip to my hat, admiration to White Stripes' work. And Jack White's just approach to artistic endeavors in terms of musical creativity has been fundamental in my process of being a musician. And I've always go back to that methodology of simplicity and what's necessary for a song to represent a song and make it as well as I can with the limitations that I give it. So it's been a very fun process in that regard.
How many of these songs did you go into the residency with, and how many were written there?
Let's see here. So Coco was written, No Coco was written, Curb My Appetite. That one was written in Breckenridge. Again, I bought that resonator, and that one came out just in terms of the circumstances I was in. It was a great setup, but like, the kitchenette was really tiny, and I didn't have the motivation to always cook. And so this idea of, combining that desire to eat and what that means and the double meaning behind that. So Speakeasy was one that I wrote before the residency, but Summertime Blues was barely being put together, and it finally kind of was very cohesive. And Brett Betterman on the drums really did a nice thing to it, and was one of the first drummers to really understand what I was trying to go for with that. Lolo House obviously was written there as well too. About 4 tracks on the album that came to be because of the residency and being in that situation, which I really just love the idea that I was so attracted to the residency just in the idea of like isolating myself in a place just to focus on one pure thing and we'll see what I can do. And like being alone in that situation really puts you in an existential state of being like, okay, well, I've created these situations and these circumstances, now what? And really trying to prove my merit mainly to myself in terms of like how my life has led me to that opportunity and making something that reflects that time period. And it was very enjoyable that way.
You have a video for the lead-off track, Oh Coco. Do you want to talk about how that came together, like in a chocolate factory?
Yeah, it was actually really great. First track is called Oh Coco, and I wrote it in just for my love and admiration for chocolate, and wanted to again like have this very intimate song about double meaning, but also really just my admiration for sugary treats. And I wanted just a very simple lyric video that really just showed the chocolate making process. And then I remember it was like a couple weeks this year before Valentine's Day, and I'm like, oh, I should release it on Valentine's Day and really feature chocolate because that's what the song is about. And the first place that came to mind was Cultura Chocolate, which is over at Westwood area here in Denver off of Morrison Road. The owner there, she was fantastic and just allowed us to film the chocolate making process and really made that the focal point. And I just wanted something that was artistic in that realm. And obviously chocolate itself is a very Latin thing in terms of the way it's produced and where it came from originally, like the cocoa leaves and etc. So just my homage and my admiration to just respecting that ingredient to life, to life force, and it's a flavor that most people in the world really enjoy. And I just wanted to make something relatable that could make people make their mouth water.
Yes.
You're so bad.
Any plans for other videos for this album?
Yes, I have a few. I mean, the main motif that I'm really trying to go for, obviously the album itself was all photographed in black and white, thanks to my good friend Todd Pearson. He came up and did a photo shoot to really capture the summertime up there. So I really want to kind of go towards like a black and white film noir kind of approach to it, and really do kind of like a Tom Waits approach to, you know, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a dancer, but I'm definitely a mover.
Sure.
And wanting to do this like cabaret kind of aesthetic to it, and really, again, embracing the idea of nightlife and being alone in the nighttime, and you know, all the things that come out in terms of emotional states when it comes to being out in the nighttime. And I think this album really also is another way that I feel in terms of, you know, being out late at night and all the emotions that come out every time I take a walk at night. And a lot of this stuff was actually written in that way too. So I think trying to capture that in music videos, I think will be a really good time.
You mentioned the noir feel. It's definitely got a noir feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely...
I like to tell people a little bit, you know, give them keywords to things, but it really is up to the person to make up their own interpretation. I think that's the best kind of art, is you don't have to be told what it is, you kind of make it your own. And I think that's the kind of music that I really enjoy. And since this formula really is very stripped down and very simple, like I like to say there's like implied guitar as well too, so like people hear what they want to hear within it. And yeah, I think once you make that kind of personal connection, I think you'll just make a good connection to the music, and you can make it your own in that regard. And I hope that's what people will do when they listen to the tunes.
Cipriano, and you're a multi-talented artist, Renaissance man, you might say. Your first play, Cheyenne, I guess was just voted best play or best new play by Westward.
Yeah, it was quite a pleasant surprise. You know. Any
other things in the works in that arena?
Yeah, I'd like to really remount the show in the next couple of years, because it was only a very short run. It was about 9 performances, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. But a lot of people who wanted to see it just couldn't within their schedules at that time period, and get more funding for it. And I have a couple rewrites and certain motifs that I want to explore within that, and working on a few other plays and concepts as well too. And obviously, I have a lot of songs as well too that I want to also get onto other albums as well too. So those are the things on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's very exciting. Very exciting. People, like we said, Lolo House. It's available everywhere digitally, and it'll be available locally. CDs, are you just doing a CD run, or are you any plans for vinyl?
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, vinyl run can be a little expensive, and I have to kind of find the right person to kind of remaster, but I have a few people in them. So yeah, I'd like to make it a vinyl as well too, because I think the warmness and the analog approach to recording it really lends itself to that format. So yeah, eventually I'd like to definitely do a vinyl.
So Cipriano, where can everybody find you on the web?
Yes, so Lolo House will be out and available on all those typical streaming platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, etc. And also on Bandcamp as well too. I also have a website now that's dedicated just to the album itself. That's lolohouse.com. That'll be lo-house.com. That way you can be able to kind of see the way it's presented online and get a little bit more information on who's behind the album, and have access to the tracks as well too. Well,
like we said, really, really great album, and definitely highly recommended. And looking forward to seeing you guys out and about, hopefully for the CD release show in the near future. Yeah, Cipriano, we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your interest. I appreciate your time.
As a drum, I'm loose as screw. We're together. What to do? You're black as ice, I'm black as coal. You're like silver, I'm like gold. Fixed up nice, I'm broken down. You're my smile, your frown. You're my up, I'm your down. You're my queen, I'm your crown. You're high, I'm down low. Get low. You're my note, I'm your howl. You're my denial, I'm your scowl. You're my inch, I'm your mile. You're old school, I'm in style. You're high, I'm down low. Get low, low, low,
Hi, this is Cipriano Ortega, and you're listening to Hypnotic Turtle Radio.